Bing! And we're live, and it is a BetaSaaSers meeting. 1 hour earlier, different day, confusion. Reuven and Richard have solved the cognitive chronological maze and arrived here with me in Makers Academy. Ooh, new hat, and all that. Yes, let's.
Sam, it looks like that time away did you well so far.
Yes, no, it did. The time away was very good all round, really. Can't complain. Ironically, the day before I came back to work, I've injured my knee again, so I'm kind of it's not affecting my computer abilities, but it means moving around is a bit slower. But yes, generally things are good. But yes, let's look at the that's the wrong button. There we go. Let's look at the agenda there. We had some outstanding action items that I think actually have been sort of addressed, and the people who are most concerned with things like Rose had some outstanding issues. She's not here yet. I think I've addressed, in case anybody's interested, this issue about the end dates. Basically, it seems that, I don't know, I don't think it was the case in the past, but now, if we want to avoid having the same end date as the MOOC, before we upload the copy of the MOOC into your Spock, we have to delete that end date from the MOOC in like the actual XML, what have you, and if we fail to do that, then the thing that we've created gets stuck with that end date and then it can't be changed apart from acts of God or edX engineers, who I believe actually are higher on the pecking order than God at the moment. But so
should we send our end date before will it help?
Sorry, say again, Reuven?
If we send you your end date, will it help? Just to remind you to do that.
I can't quite follow you saying if we set the end date.
When I ask for my Spock, if I send you my end date.
Oh well, in future actually, so you shouldn't be affected by this, Reuven, because what will happen is I've now made a version of the MOOC that doesn't have the end date specified, and so when I upload that and create a new one for you, you will be able to set your end dates as appropriate with the normal interface. So, you know, Janet and Richard and others have encountered that bug for you, have suffered through it, and you shall benefit from the results of it. But Janet has joined us. Hello, Janet. How are you doing? We can't hear any audio. I can see your mouth moving, and unless you're practicing the new lip reading skills that you think we've picked up, I suspect your microphone is not working. But these things do indeed happen. Just to catch you up, Janet, I was just reviewing the outstanding, or sort of outstanding action items, things from some previous meetings, talking about, you know, my understanding of the end date issue. But yeah, I think there's not too much that we have to go there. I see. No, go on, Richard.
Yeah, at the risk, I really don't want to spend more than like a few more seconds on this, but I feel like the end date thing was like something that I found and theorized when I was encountering an actual problem with student accounts accessing my material.
Mm-hmm.
That problem sort of lasted like 12 hours and went away by itself.
Mm-hmm.
I theorized, I can't seem to change the end date, and maybe that's what's locking things up. edX told me, no, that was not the problem.
No.
I had no evidence that it was the problem.
No,
and I think it's basically a non-issue other than cosmetic, and I sort of feel bad that everyone.
But I think it was an issue for Rose, and I think it's I mean, I think even the edX engineers, you know, even though we've established their picking order above God, that they would agree that in principle you want, you know, you guys should all be able to edit the dates.
But it really wasn't causing problems. It was just on this one page.
No.
Okay, I just want to confirm, because that's my takeaway and then I won't think about it.
Yeah. So actually now Ed has joined us. I've got all the details from Ed that I need to create a new Spock for Ed, and assuming Ed's still up for that, I can go ahead and create that. But that's
sure. I'm not sure what it is, but I think sounds like something that'd be good to have. So.
Yeah, sure. No, I'll get you one, and you can have a play around and see if it's something that you want to spend more time on in the future. But yeah, so someone unnamed, possibly Richard, has added a set of things to the agenda, or maybe multiple people have. Is that so? Who's added these things to the agenda?
Could it be Rose?
I guess it could be.
Because the lab guy, the lab tech guy, sounds like a Rose.
Yes, it could be. I mean, I guess we've got, and we have got some from Richard there at the bottom. I guess so. We have a series of questions from Rose there. I guess if that's the case, we might wait for Rose to arrive before addressing them. Does anybody else have any burning issues that we should add to the agenda to make sure that they get addressed?
Sam,
Reuven, go ahead.
concerning that there are questions about it. Just the library is mad with me that we have a beta version and another version. Do you know what's the status?
We're talking about we're talking about the ESAS textbook and about what's the latest version. Yeah. So I mean, the situation there is, I mean, I've made a series of extensive edits and fixes. I mean, not so much edits, but errata fixes that I'm hoping to get out as quickly as possible. Amando's just back from his holiday. He's working on getting that out to Amazon. At the moment, Amazon have, I think, 1.1.0. But at least up to a week ago, I was still encountering the issue that the version that was in the cloud release is still on 1.0.1. But so I haven't checked it. Yeah, go on.
Know if there is a possibility to purchase like a digital copy for the library outside of Amazon or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the kind, like, if the Amazon has a Kindle account, we could send it to them. I don't know that what Amazon has. I mean, people have, Amazon has a whole lending framework within their Kindles, and you can lend your ebooks to other people, and it becomes inaccessible to you. So it depends a little bit what your library is set up with.
Nothing except for Amazon.
Oh, for Amazon. But if the library is set up with Amazon and the library have their own Kindle account, then in principle, I could send them a copy. So you could, if you could give me the Amazon account email for your library, then maybe we could work something out. Right.
Okay, I'll check it. Thanks.
Yeah, and the other Janet has joined us. Greetings. Hello, Janet.
Hi.
Hi, lovely to meet you. I feel, yeah, I don't know if you haven't seen me. Let's go to video. It's me, hello. This is my time. Oh, hat. Oh, no, messy hair. No, put the hat back on. There we go. Yeah, great to have you with us. Yeah, we were just getting started and sorted out. I think, Janet, you're all set with your course now, with the end date is sorted and so on and so forth?
I am. Now, I was seeing some emails about issues with the AutoGrader.
Yes, and I think that's probably the thing that we're going to get into. I was just about to move that up to the top of the agenda. I was just asking, before we got into that, are there any other burning issues that we have? I mean, I think it was an interesting point there from I'll just add that into Reuven asking about library ebooks, and that's a good thing. That we should get something on the website to have a policy for that.
My students were a bit confused on which version of the book to get, and I just said, whatever you can find that's newest.
Yeah. And I would strongly recommend getting the ebook because the ebook comes with free updates for life, and so we continue to push out fixes. And although I find the way that you update your Amazon ebook to be extraordinarily frustrating, much as Amazon do many other wonderful things, the fact that you can't update the copy of your ebook from within your Kindle or your other Kindle software, it just seems you have to go to Amazon.com and then request that you get the updates. But anyway.
I need to do that because I've been wondering how I get updated.
Yeah. It's I don't know. We need to have that tattooed onto Jeff Bezos' forehead, and then everybody will know. But so, any other? I guess there's an action item for me there. Any other critical agenda items which we should add, or we'll just get into all the excitement and fun that is AutoGraders? That sounds like we can get into the AutoGrader. So the situation with the AutoGraders, yeah, Richard has discovered that the AutoGrader isn't working on edX Edge. I have here live on the screen, this is me checking that Richard's AutoGrader is pointing at the correct location, which it is. It's stuck here with a spinning disk. The AutoGraders, I've checked them, are running. The MOOC is able to contact them and get back. And so this seems to be an issue specific to Edge edX. And yeah, I have not heard back from edX, and I guess I'm, since this continues to be a problem, I'm going to have to escalate it with them. And we will continue. I mean, this is it's frustrating that I wish I had a direct line to the engineers at edX so that I could address these issues more seriously. At the worst comes to worst, I'll get Armando has a weekly meeting with the head of edX engineering, so I'll get him to bring that up there. But so that's the current status on that.
Okay, and you're speaking with Armando in an hour, it sounds like.
In 49 minutes from now, yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's why we've come. We're meeting an hour earlier. So yeah, and if I can't get any clarity on that before then, I'll bring that up with him as well. But one related note, I mean, I find the fact that we have to go through. Maybe that actually I'm in the noisy location. I'm in the Makers Academy, and there are people playing ping pong in the background. So if that's distracting, I could turn down my audio. If I turn down my audio, is that better from me? Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I could also try and get the mic in a better position so that it's covered. Yeah, is I'm working on I'm looking at variants of the AutoGrader to allow us to access it more easily and more fluently outside of edX, but that's a longer term thing. So yeah, I guess Richard, you've got another thing there on you wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the approaches to sum to n ?
Right, especially in the context of it being a homework 0 exercise, which is supposed to be like simple to knock off, and it, you know, in theory could be, except for the distinct elements. And I basically either I'm having like a little bit of a brain freeze, but in talking to students yesterday about like good approaches to it, it was like I couldn't remember like what the good, simple, straightforward approach was, and I just want to, I guess, you know, either just be re-injected with the Kool-Aid to try and remember what that would be.
Yeah, like what's that all about and how to do that. Yeah, maybe I wonder if I go over here, we can look at. I've got the full homework stuff of this here. Let me get this sorted out on mute for a second.
Okay. Because I was the one that originally sort of found these from Berkeley and created AutoGraders for them. And what I did in my original class was the AutoGrader sort of checked if you found two elements that added up but they weren't distinct, and it basically warned you but didn't deduct points. It was like I sort of made it like, well, it's an extra credit thing if you want to solve that case, but for homework 0, you know, intent, I didn't care if someone, you know, achieved that level of in this problem. And the solution, the reference solution, you know, does something fancy with using hashes to sort of remember the values as it walks through, and it does it in one pass, and that's cool. That's fine. But I don't consider that like, you know, something that the students are going to think of just.
No, that's quite an advanced solution, and then there's, I mean, I think looking at the student solutions, we see a variety of approaches to that, and I've kind of gone, you know, in for the MOOC, in the MOOC tutorials, I've been through, you know, 3 or 4 different versions of the solutions to that. But I guess what you're saying there is that probably the spec as it currently stands is a bit harsh from your point of view as a kind of.
Well, if I were, you know, telling these students who are coming from being like sort of Java programmers, we're sort of trying to tell them not to use for loops, right? But it seems to me, like, given that, how can you tell whether two elements are distinct? Like the objects themselves are not going to be. Is there any way to say, like, once I'm holding on 2 different elements from an each, that I can see their distinct elements without having their index?
Yeah, nothing immediately springs to mind.
So to me, it seems if you want to solve this, like, sort of easily, like, oh, with a nested loop, you ought to be using, you know, the simplest thing might be to use for loops, and if we're trying to get people away from them,
well,
I just need
use each with index. You know, I mean, if you do need the index to do something, then the preferred Ruby approach is to use each with index.
Each with index. Okay. Yeah. That's probably all that I'm saying. So that's not like real basic, but if I tell people,
Yeah, you could certainly say, look at each with index. That would be
Right.
a
Right.
good,
That's
a good line
essentially
in.
all. That sort of answers the question, except for the fact that that's not simple and basic. Because I didn't, without looking at the documentation, again, I didn't sort of know about that offhand. But that's what we're
No,
looking
no,
for. We
sure,
want
sure. But and that's kind of, I mean, I guess what we could certainly, I don't know. There's I feel there's sort of a conflict in some levels of academic education about how much information that you're concealing the answers from the students, or you're expecting the students to find certain things here, there, and how much information do you give them? Yeah, I mean, in principle, the each with index thing can be found. I mean, if we look at, do we have it in the
Well,
here?
the thing is, the students are going to want to do for loops, right?
Sure, right.
And
right.
so right now, like even as we speak, I don't have a real good answer to them to say, oh, don't do for loops, other than it's like not cool with Ruby. It would be a simpler way to solve this problem.
So is the AutoGrader not letting them use for loops, or?
I think the AutoGrader would let them use for loops.
Fine, yeah.
I used a while, and it was perfectly happy with me when I did the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think more Richard is worrying that the AutoGraded is not perhaps not encouraging the Ruby style. And there's a question about could the AutoGrader be encouraging the certain sort of style? I mean, I think at the moment with the way the AutoGrader is that it the extent that it's checking, any solution that works will do. And I mean, there's an extent to which at the end of the day, if it works, that's great.
Yeah.
I guess the burden at the moment is on, the instructor to present these alternate Rubyist approaches. I mean, if we look here at enumerable, we see under the, there's a series of different each things, and there's each, number of different each things, and we've got each with index and each with object and so on.
Yeah, that's fine. The main thing I would say, it's not the AutoGrader that's not encouraging Rubyisms. I think it's this particular problem is not one that really shows off sort of the Ruby approach well, because it actually seems like it would be handled sort of well with the standard kind of C Java for loop kind of, where I'm just sequencing through the indexes and checking that the indexes are distinct.
Yes, I take your point. I think what you're saying is that the nature of the problem is not necessarily one that encourages one to think in a Rubyist fashion. And yes, there's an extent to which, these problems. But I mean, if we've got suggestions for alternate, problems that would be, would encourage alternate things, we're all ears and yes, I can sort of put
sure.
That
Yeah, this is out there now. It's not horrible. I just wanted to know how to talk about it, and more importantly, I thought I was like aging in a way that my memory and thought process was unclear. So that's my. I'm walking away with a better feeling right now.
Sure, good. It sounds like we've made some progress there.
On the other hand, you could think of it as being a teachable moment. That if the students are using the for loop and it works, which is fine. That at that point when they submit the stuff and you see that most of them have done this, you ask, has anyone come up with a better solution, and see if someone volunteers. And if not, you just kind of say, well, there's a better way of doing this where we have the each object manage its own traversal, and explain that whole concept. So I mean, you could use it as a lever to kind of get that talking point in and show them in real time.
Yeah, I mean, my gut reaction to that is that it's not that much like better a solution than a for loop. So I wouldn't be like overly impressed with that teachable moment. But I certainly will deal with it. I'm it's okay.
All right, cool. Well, let's maybe move on from that. I guess Rose has now joined us. Rose, excellent. Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, hi. I had the weirdest thing happen. I went to join, and it told me I didn't have the plugin. Now, what could cause that to uninstall by itself?
Yeah, I mean, cosmic rays. It's who knows. Ultimately, Google will own all of our brains, and then they can just download it directly into us. But,
probably.
Until that day, we're going to encounter these speed bumps. Reuven was just asking about Git tutorials. I do have sort of an extensive list that I will just I'll post into the chat there. In the meantime, I guess most of these other issues here are from you, Rose, is that right?
Well, I just put up everything I could think of, basically. And I just wonder, does anyone else have these issues or concerns, or is anyone else interested in working on some of these things? So.
Sorry if I'm slow responding. I'm sort of muting myself to deal with the background noise. But yeah, I mean, unless other people have burning issues, that should come before any of Rose's issues. Rose, do you want
Absolutely.
to talk through some of the issues that you? I think other people.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, definitely make sure that everyone else is.
Right. I have a non-burning issue that may not be in the agenda because I think we edited at the same time. I don't know if a refresh or save and refresh would get it, but one of my TAs found another Git tutorial, and I wasn't looking at going into it in the meeting, but I was just wondering if anyone else had any, like, at least gut reactions on it. And that was one thing that Reuven said he was interested in, and he's leaving, so whatever. But it'll be there.
He's coming and going, but I mean, yeah. Why don't you paste the link into the chat, and I'll
let me see if I can.
But yeah, while we're doing that in the background, yeah, I mean, I think Rose, we've maybe covered some of the key issues. Do you want to just sort of start talking through some of what are the most important issues for you at the moment?
Okay, I'm trying to get this bigger so I can see it. Oh, jeez. Yeah, okay. Well, that's better. First of all, and you may have answered this already, is this VM exactly the same as the one in the spring? Have there been any changes?
I mean, I think there have only been the changes that we made going through the spring. There haven't been substantive changes since then.
In other words, the virtual machine image that is, I believe, the same version.
Yeah, we don't have a new virtual machine image as yet.
Okay, that's the answer. Great. No, I just wanted to make sure because my tech guy was going to make sure that if there was a new image, it was installed before classes started. And he looked at it and he said, whoa, I don't think it's changed. So right. I just wanted to get back to him with that.
Okay. I can add one thing just as a reminder is that if you remember, Sam, we did the compression on that image and got it down from like a 1.5, got it down to 1.5 gig from about 1.9. I'm offering that to my students. It's not a huge savings, but you know, I shared that link, you know, months ago, and that's still something I have available.
That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I've spent all of my available time just focused exclusively on the textbook. I mean, that's thrown up.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
That we might want to change on the VM, but I haven't got around to taking a pass on that.
If my link is still active, I'll share that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. So I've just posted. I mean, I think I've been for Makers Academy. We've got like a big list of Git-related things, which I think has got all the best of Git stuff that I know about. I just pasted that.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
Let's go back to the. I mean, I can make that available in other places as well. But yes, Rose, yeah, do go on with your.
Super. Okay. I just wanted to mention, and Richard helped me through this last week. When I tried to set up my own Hangout, I ran into this issue where it was telling me I had to have some sort of connection with YouTube, and I didn't. And I was already having trouble with the fact that my account, my main account, is a Google-backed academic account, and they block you from using Hangouts.
I know it's
so. Even though, yeah, I know. Even though I was trying to use my other account and a different browser. You know, because then I had to access YouTube. It figured out what I was doing, and I just had a really rough time. And what I'm really worried about is that when my students next week start their pair programming and Hangouts, that they're not going to be able to, figure it out for the same reason. And I just wondered if anyone had any kind of walkthrough of how to get around it or how to do the YouTube thing, which I'm a little fuzzy on what exactly we're doing.
Well, I just mentioned the things that I know about that is that I think if you were going to do a Hangout on air, that's where you need the YouTube account to be connected, because
Exactly.
for the
Exactly.
recording. So if you're doing a private one that you're not going to record, you don't need the YouTube connection. We
Yeah.
encountered the
But
same issue in the MOOC, and it's
yeah.
just, I don't know. I don't have a walkthrough. I've sort of
Okay.
wrung my hands and shed tears over the people facing this issue.
Oh,
It
okay.
seems to be just a kind of I don't understand. It just works for a lot of people, and then
Yeah.
there's like a significant proportion of people that they get stuck going around in a loop, and they keep clicking on these Google Learn More things that tells them how
Right.
exciting the great
Yeah.
features from Google they are giving them, but don't
Oh,
actually seem to give them substantive help. I mean,
this sounds so familiar.
yeah, yeah. So I share your pain, and I just feel bad that I don't have a good solution to this. I'd like to find one. I don't know if anybody else has anything to share on this one.
I mean, I don't know if anyone would be willing to either work with me or be available when it's time to do this next week and kind of see what we run into. But I mean, we do have to figure this out, because being able to do the Hangouts on air is going to be pretty critical for the way I want to do things this semester.
Yeah, well, I'll add an action item for that to see if we can't find out some more. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'll try to figure out whatever I can, but I'm telling you, Richard, you were amazing, and you definitely got me through it. But I'm thinking, wow, I don't know if I could do this again.
Yeah, and I have 3 accounts that I'm normally signed into, Google account type accounts. So it's sometimes when things work and they don't work, that I sort of just check different combinations, and most of the times things just seem to be working in whatever configuration I have.
Yeah, I ended up having to do the same thing. I just wish I should have written down the sequence.
Right. But if you really want to test from scratch, you got to start from a fresh sort of browser and make sure you're logged out of everything.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
So
I was.
well,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of actually going. We have a little center at the university that sort of helps faculty do things like flipping their classes, putting together videos, that sort of thing. So I was thinking of visiting them and seeing maybe if I could, use some of them as guinea pigs or something. and it's going to be really an issue of, am I going to get this walk down all figured out before I run out of fresh guinea pigs, if you know what I'm saying? For the reasons that Richard just mentioned, you start with a fresh slate to start.
Okay, well, we're kind of coming up on about the amount of time that I have today. I think what I'm going to do here with the rest of these issues here is I'm going to just sort of type in as much as I can. I don't know, Rose and others, if you want to carry on discussing these as I type in all the information I have on all of these issues, and if there's anything else that comes up, then I'll see if I can give more help. But yeah, why don't you guys keep talking, and don't mind me, and I'll add information in here in real time as you're chatting, and hopefully we'll have a weird kind of multi-way text interaction.
Okay, I mean, some of the things like the tutorials, that could be done just via the email. All right, but I just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, but it's also handy, to add elements into here. But if we move it, through, you can see like hopefully we'll have 1.1 next week. At least it'll be available in principle. Whether Amazon will actually allow us to download it onto our Kindles is another matter.
Okay.
I need more information on this issue in order to address it. But particularly, I would say or URLs to precise.
Yeah, I'll ship you some URLs.
Yeah, and then my time is currently UTC +1.
Oh, okay.
And the TA course, I can send you a link for it.
That'd be great.
Anyway, but I guess it's a shame we don't have.
That kind of addresses that addresses really most of it. Do you know when your time is going to change?
Oh, I think it's to the end of October.
Okay, same as us.
And it's going to be
a little bit off.
I'm sure it'll be slightly offset, and it will be an awful couple of weeks where we're all really confused. I think that's almost guaranteed. That's just going to happen regularly.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
Our lives. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna mute out and keep on editing this page and adding some more things. But if you guys want to sort of chat amongst yourselves,
Yeah,
for as long
and that's
as
good. And the homework zero issue for me is the AutoGrader is, as you can imagine, a critical one. So even if there's no resolution, if there's any status to say, hey, it's not, that's fine too, then I'll just sort of know how to characterize things in my class. Thanks so much for your help.
No problem. I'll update
I'll
you
try
as
and
soon
keep
as I have
Skype
it.
open.
Say, Richard, I don't think we've met you yet, or at least I haven't met you. Can you tell about where you're from?
Well, and this is that's Ed talking.
Ed from NC State, yes.
Yeah. And somehow, I did see your picture, like in one of the last teleconferences. I'm at UNC Charlotte. I'm not a native. I'm a proud sort of Northeasterner. And I think I was part of the original crew doing this. I go so far back that I didn't realize, at the beginning I was sort of like grumbly to everyone because it didn't seem like the Berkeley people were coming through with what they said, and I was even like grumbly toward Sam, and I didn't realize how great a resource he would turn out to be.
He would turn out to be right. I'm not a resource yet for the group because I'm not really using the material in courses. We're just using some of the videos. In what's essentially a hybrid class, one day a week I will talk to them, and then we'll give them the other half of the time to work on projects, and then so we have to have some lecture material for the other part of the week, and we've used some of their videos, at least 4 or 5 weeks worth of their videos, because they're really useful, and we've adopted the textbook, so they're well keyed to the textbook. But we haven't done any auto grading.
And just before you drop that, do you have any? Or maybe you haven't even started yet, but do you have any feedback on the students' reaction? In other words, I understand, you think they're good. I sort of think they're pretty good. Students are mixed from my experience.
I'll say that I think that the course ratings are a little bit higher than before we did that, but I think that has to do more with the hybrid format than it does with the videos. When they did the first set of videos in 2012, the problem was that people couldn't read the text on the screen. And so eventually they gave them the paste bin stuff and so they could look back, but that was still inconvenient because you had to look back and forth. We just started using the new videos last week, so I don't have any reaction to them. Yeah. Although I do daily feedback forms, and I could modify them to include a question about the videos, I guess.
Yeah, right, and I'll tell you sort of two brief things that come to mind. One is that even though the newer videos are superior in a number of ways, it's in some ways I also like the older videos. They were like a little bit less polished, and they seemed a little bit more real. And in this case, I think they're sort of trying to time things a certain way and do things a certain way, and it makes it a little more rigid. That's a slight observation. The other issue from the students is, some of the students, and this makes me feel bad, they say, man, if we wanted to hear like Berkeley lecturers, we go to Berkeley, and like, why don't you, like, it's sort of like, oh, you're not doing your job by like coming in and offering these videos.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing a good job and doing something of service, but
right.
That hurts when people say that.
That's a common observation, though, with flipped classes in general. That students will say you're not teaching, and you're there helping them solve problems, and they say you're not teaching because it's not what they're used to. So the advice that I got, I forget who gave this advice, is on the first day of class, tell them why this is a better way of learning, because you're getting practice with material as you're learning it, and your retention is better. So they said, look up the forgetting curve. And another thing that I did is I looked up videos on advantages. I forget what search terms I used, but I ended up using a TV news segment, a story from Colorado Springs, in which there was a high school that was doing some flipped classes, and it just said how, had some clips from teachers saying how good it was, and the announcer said they're getting interest from as far away as Japan. So you just try to give them an idea that this is the superior way to learn, and I think that will affect the judgment that they have ultimately.
And that is the issue, the distinction there is like, well, if I were doing the lectures, they would have, it wouldn't be the same criticism, but so there's the issue. It's like, oh, it's coming from someone else, but also like another school, so it's like, I'm sort of sneaking this in, but again, I'm just throwing that out just to see what people's students' reactions are.
In this case, I'm doing half the lectures, or maybe more than half, because after we go on to other material or design, I got some of the recorded lectures too. And nobody, actually in this class, nobody's made that comment. But I will say that in other classes they have, so I maybe it's just my students in this class are more mature.
Okay. And then I interrupted you. You were talking about using the assignments and AutoGraders or not?
Well, I said we didn't do it, and the real reason was because we had our assignments set up, before we did this. Like, we're using pretty much the same assignments we've used since we started doing open source development in class, and that was about 2006 or 2007. So that really hasn't changed, and I want to give a look to their auto-graded exercises. But I'm not sure that I'd use them, and one of the reasons, of course, would be that I would wonder if the auto-grading was going to work, and I guess I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer based upon the feedback that I've gotten from this group.
And I can tell you the history on that is, like, when I first came into this, auto-graders were promised. They did not materialize, and I was the only one that seemed to be bothered by that. And I actually, with a student who was taking my class using the Ruby on Rails technology, we created our own AutoGrader system, which was tremendous. We used the sort of the scripts from Berkeley, but we created our own user interface, which in my mind was like still way superior. Not in my mind, in actuality, it was still way superior than what we have from edX, because I could see exactly what was going on. I could see student submissions. I could see the results they were getting. So if anyone had a problem, I would just give a click, and I'd see exactly what they were seeing. And we still don't have that kind of functionality here. And I've reluctantly moved to the edX platform just because they seem to be maintaining it. And I will say that whatever problem now, I would say 99% sort of will get worked out shortly.
I would think so. But I think for anybody in CS, you always have the option of rolling your own or hiring somebody to roll their own, and then it'll be done like you want it and not like whoever did it at the other institution decided. So there's always that trade-off, and you wonder if you're wasting your time by doing your own, or if you're getting what you in effect pay for.
Yeah, no, I still miss the one that we did, but it's just it's a maintenance issue to try and keep that up, and I didn't have the resources at the time, and it was the problem was, even though the end result was great from a user perspective, i.e., me and the students, it was really hacked together like at a moment's notice. And sometimes in order to get things working for like homework 3 or 4, we had to break it working for homework 1 and 0. So it would have required some work to get it back up to snuff. But it still has features. I still find the edX interface and how we can manage our classroom way lacking. My issue with my students is that I have, almost to my surprise, because I'm getting to change, I'm trying to change this, I have about a third of my students who have just taken sort of a basic introductory course in programming, have not taken data structures or anything beyond. And again, I'm trying to change that, so I have to sort of gauge my class. These guys at Berkeley are oriented at like senior, just graduating level, and I have some people. I basically have some almost just starting people in my class, and I have to just wing it.
Yeah, I have sort of an analogous situation where we've got a computer science section and an ECE section, and as long as the ECE people are computer engineers, they've got a considerable amount of programming experience. They don't have any design experience, though. But then you get some double E's in there, and they are really lost. And so I had 4 people drop out on the first day as a result. We were able to...
I wish the people would drop out. That shouldn't be there, but anyway. So what I do is, you know, I basically, you know, take away some of the hardest parts of the course, and I allegedly provide a lot of help. So if people need help with the programming, it's like, fine, get the help. You know, as long as you sort of sit through it and listen to the concepts and so forth, you won't get as much as if you were more experienced, but you'll get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is a required class to graduate, so it's not like they sort of have an option. They're all taking it whether they want to or not, which means most of them don't want to.
Well, in my case, the class is, I think, the most popular class that's not a core course. And, you know, I'm wondering if I should try to make it a core course, but we get enough students anyway because supposedly the word on the street is if you want to get a good job, you got to take this class and 2 others. I don't remember what the other 2 are, but the students kind of tell the new students take the class. So we have
that I think is the best of both worlds. You know and I would love to have that.
Yeah. I'm not sure where that background noise comes from. But let me turn off the mic. Well, it went away, but it wasn't me. It didn't go away when I turned off my mic. I think it's probably Janet Berger.
It might have been me.
Ooh.
Oh, it might have been, yeah. Maybe it's Janet. We're not saying which Janet. Okay.
Anything, you know, from either of the Janets? It's an unfortunate. If one of you wants to change your name, or
no, Janet's a great name.
Maybe
when I was single, I fancied myself marrying a Janet because it was such a nice name. I married a Carol, but.
So one of the things I was thinking that might be useful to do at some point is maybe gather some of our syllabi or links to syllabi and put them somewhere, because it's kind of interesting to see how people are doing different things.
Yeah.
For example, I'm doing the lecturing and having the videos available, but because I'm starting a brand new job, I don't dare have the students say I'm not doing my job.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share my syllabus. I've been thinking I might have some questions to contribute to the quiz bank, and I feel like I've got the classroom thing off to a good start. And it would be a bit more work, but I might be willing to share some lesson plans as well.
We've got online quizzes. I'm not sure how easy they are to export. They're from WebAssign. We've got online quizzes for every week based on the videos. Now, like I say, only a certain fraction of the videos, maybe 40%, are from this class. So they might not apply in general, but I think a lot of the questions would be usable by others. And I would certainly be willing to share them if there's an easy way to do so. You know, if I can just write a file and upload it somewhere.
And the deal with that is that Armando, we should have mentioned this to Sam in an agenda item. It's not critical, but there was a sort of Ruby-based quiz generation system that Berkeley has or had, and it was being allegedly improved, and we were all supposed to be putting our quiz questions in a particular sort of Ruby encased format, identifying the question and the multiple choice, the choices and the correct answer, and so that quizzes could be generated from it. And that would take a bunch of work. I never did it from my side, and so I don't know if it's really, sort of live and worth the time. What Sam did is in the Google sites, he just sort of pasted, text of his quiz, and I would be happy to do like maybe to assign my TAs and do that, but it would be nice to have here's a standard format or a place to do it. But that's something, if there's enough interest, I always threaten to do it.
And Ed, I'm sharing that on screen right now. So there's on the BetaSaaSers Google sites, there's this whole list of quiz files corresponding to lectures, and there are questions here from David Armando and Sam. And I'm planning to ask questions that I write to use it now as well.
I think we know whose mic is the problem.
Because I should be able to edit this.
She may not understand that.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could maybe send the URL of that to the group, and I can send my syllabus. So maybe we could share for the moment by just emailing the list.
Right. Well, the thing is, in absence of anything else, and I mentioned this to Sam in the last, within the last few meetings, is that the old Google Sites, the Google Sites site that we had as a resource is still there, and even though there's been motions to try and move all of it over to the new Agile Venture site, that would probably take a bunch of work. That it's not clear anyone wants to take on, so that maybe we should just keep using that Google Sites for a resource, a repository for information, and if we transfer it somewhere, we can transfer it all. But there's a lot of subpages and so forth there that.
I don't know where that site is offhand, and I don't think I've used it. But if somebody could email that to the list, that would be helpful. What's the address of the list, by the way? I'm not pulling it up automatically. I thought it was eSAS or something like that. No,
there's two. There's eSAS. We'll get it for you exactly. Oh, and mine, yeah. So Janet did it, and mine is even just the same thing. It's the top level, and there's one mailing list, and there's a good message. One mailing list for people actually using the course, the SPOCs, which is the BetaSaaSers, and I think the eSaaSers are maybe just for people using the book.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe it should be eSaaSers, but this group is made up of BetaSaaSers, right?
I think so.
Beta Engineering right? Long-Lasting SW at Google Groups. So I'm going to send it to the Google Groups. And basically, it's the course website, and you can find the syllabus by clicking on syllabus.
Great. Okay. So, and then, and no, anything else that didn't get addressed from the rest of you by, Sam's short window of time that we had with him?
Are any of you trying to use the VM in a public computer lab, the VirtualBox?
I'm not now, but I have in the past.
Because I noticed that each student has to basically rebuild the machine.
Yeah, I did that like a year or so ago, year and a half, and it seemed annoying, but it actually wasn't too painful. They they had an image. They would go in, they would start it up, boom, 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 and in sort of 5 minutes they were going. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. And basically, most students were bringing in their laptops, and only a few students were doing that in the lab class. Right now, I'm not in a class with computers.
Okay, I was just curious whether there was some setting to avoid that. The only part that seems to be really a problem is that first bundle install is taking forever on our machines.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess one thought. I haven't actually redone that for a while, but one thought could be to change the image that's shared, right? So just do the bundle install and save the new virtual machine and then distribute that. That would make sense. Easier said than done, but it seems the way to go. Because the problem is you could have students save their space and work, but it would take 5-6 gigabytes of space for each student.
Yeah.
And so that's the only issue. If you can afford that space, fine. But otherwise, then it just gets it evaporates after each session and gets rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it looks like I'm the guinea pig who's ahead of everyone else in timing of some things. I will be getting behind because I move more slowly, so this is only temporary. But finding the AutoGrader problem, I was cavalier because I've been through it so many times before, and it seems to just be getting better and better each year. And I just assumed that because of Sam's just running the course and everything looking good, that things would be working. But I'm sort of have confidence now with the resources that that'll come back soon. And then once we figure out what the problem is, then it should be okay for everyone.
Well, thanks for finding the bugs for the rest of us.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was the middle of class. I was lecturing to the class like how great the AutoGraders were, because what happens with students, just so you're aware, some of them think, oh, my work is being graded, so I have to make it perfect before I send it to the AutoGrader. And I was telling them just the opposite. I say, do like your worst job imaginable. Just create a Ruby file, define a method name, have it do nothing, and send it to the AutoGrader and see what the AutoGrader says. It'll say, hey, at least you have a method named the right thing, even though it doesn't do anything, and encourage that submitting multiple times and redoing it until you get it right. So I was just finished lecturing about that, and then people started submitting and nothing happened. Okay. So are we good to go? Get our real work done?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, good. That's because.
Sounds good.
You're welcome, and thanks to you all, and we'll see you on email or next week, or an hour later. Actually, about 1 week from right now.
Right. Okay. Bye.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Bye-bye.